Oh geez, I didn't realize it was about
All right, gentlemen, being 7 o'clock.
Where?
On the 6th of December, I'll call the Ossipee Planning Board meeting to order. Roll call, Ski's here, Connie?
Here.
I'm Gillette.
Here.
Bruce?
Yeah.
Roy?
Yeah.
Dennis?
Yep.
Frank Riley is absent, and Rick St. Jean is absent. Steve McConerty, the CEO, is here. Did everyone get a chance to review the minutes of the last meeting?
I'll make a motion.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Dennis. Any discussion? All those in favor of accepting the minutes?
Perfect minutes, once again.
Okay. Anyone opposed? Unsatisfied conditions, the list remains the same. Under informal discussions, Bob has spent some time doing a draft or a guideline, or both, a draft guideline for the outdoor events, since we do not have anything in our zoning ordinance at the present time.
Well, we don't have anything in our site plan review regulations pertaining to outdoor events. I hate to be the one guy who keeps pushing these things forward, but hey,
Did you,
got more time on my hands than anybody else.
did you ask the selectmen if they had any kind of guidelines they've used?
Well, no, what I did was to take the new ordinance that the selectmen have adopted, and I just plucked each point of information that they asked for, if they're applying for a license through the selectmen, and simplified it, dropped the legalese, and put it in here.
So you actually looked at the stuff they had?
Oh, well, yeah, absolutely.
That's why I was asking, basically.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm asking, yeah.
So, the purpose of this is just to be as an informal guideline for ourselves, so we can be consistent from one case to another, and for the applicants, so they can know what kind of information we actually want. And unfortunately, you've not had a chance to look at this. My colleagues haven't either. I just brought it in tonight, but, you know, we'll do our best here. Just an informal guideline, not part of our site plan review regulations. That's a more complicated process. We have to adopt an amendment, we have to hold 1 or even 2 public hearings and so on. It takes a month or more.
I think the informal would be better anyway.
Absolutely, and you know.
We can adjust it as we go, because this is all new territory.
Absolutely, and when this first came up with the selectmen, they said, well, Wolfboro does it this way. And so I talked to the Wolfboro zoning officer, and I asked them if the planning board had any regulations in their site plan review regs for outdoor events. And they said, no. We just have points of information that we need people to provide, and they don't have very many cases in which they've done this. So I thought, well, all right, why not try this? We can skim through this quickly if you like, and that'll be the first exposure you all have to the subject as well. Let me just go through it. There's 2.5 pages. Identity of the applicant. If it's a company, then we need to know the person who is representing the applicant, and the name of the people who will be present at any outdoor events representing the applicant. Location. Well, we'd like to know map and lot numbers.
Wait a minute, Bob.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
This one here,
When we get
they
to it.
have identify the persons who will be present.
You can't do that.
Can't do that. Each event,
Yeah.
if they have 5 events, and they.
It's going to be some different person, different staff
Correct.
person. Okay.
So why?
Because it's in here in the ordinance, that's why. But okay, your point is well taken. What maybe you could do is identify the person who is ultimately responsible. Maybe it's yourself. You will assign or delegate this responsibility to different staff at different events. That's okay. We just want to know who actually ultimately is responsible for
Well, the owner is.
the owner is. So, no, it's the same thing with the owner. Yeah.
It's
So-
redundant.
Yeah, probably, yeah. Location, map numbers, et cetera, the zoning ordinance, the zone in which the events are planned, and the section of the zoning ordinance that says such events are permitted on this property. So you're roadside commercial, I think? Yeah, so we know what you mean.
Do we have a zone against residential events and stuff, or what?
Well, we won't find a business in a residential area
I understand
applying
that,
for
but
this.
if a homeowner wanted to have an event, is there a law against that, or?
Well, the
what's that
homeowner
zone?
is gonna have to apply to the town, because we don't do site plan review regulations for homeowners.
Okay, so it's nothing to do with us, the
No,
homeowners, they
this
go
is-
right to the
This is
selectmen.
only for a business that wants to conduct multiple events, or in the
Yes.
future, if not.
What I was thought, but I wanted to verify that,
Yeah,
thank you.
right. And if the property isn't owned by the applicant, we need to see an agreement with the owner that indeed this is be permitted. Number 3, description of the kinds of events you expect to hold, weddings, concerts, sports, whatever. Schedule, that is frequency, how often, once a year, 3 times a year, monthly? What season, spring, summer, fall? Yeah.
It doesn't matter the frequency, because once they have the second one, we have no control.
Well, yeah, you're right, but
So-
here's where what does matter to abutters. The abutters might want to know if there's going to be a concert every weekend through the summer next to their property, as
Can't make
opposed
them
to
do
1 or
it.
2.
Can't
Can't
do
do
it. If you give them a event for more than one event, they don't, that's it.
That's it. We give them one, once the event, second event held, they can hold one the next day. We can't say
Okay,
a word.
let me take the only example I know of for Wolfboro, which is the Wolfboro Inn. And they are permitted to have weddings, for example, outdoor weddings at the Wolfboro Inn. This is in their site plan now. And you're probably right that they have no idea how many weddings they're gonna have in any given year. So, okay, maybe we should strike the frequency schedule.
Yeah, they can
But
tell
it's
us
something that
approximately.
abutters will wanna know.
Yeah. Well, they
There's
can
no
tell
way
us
to tell.
approximately.
So the butters just have to put up with it, once you issue a permit. That's just like the store, once the permit's there, they can open the doors 7 days a week, they want it 5 days a week.
Okay.
That's how that goes, so they wanna get in here when they're notified and say they're for or against it.
Yeah.
That's when they get to say it.
If at any point, Steve, I don't know if you've had a chance to look at these yourself, if you have a comment, please, speak up, okay?
I think that the applicant can give us an approximation. You can have it all through the winter, like for instance, a winter
Yeah.
sports event or something like that. But we can't hold it to it.
No, again, I'm thinking of a butters here, and if we have a wildly and uniformly opposed set of abutters, we have a problem. But they may be only wildly opposed if something's gonna happen every weekend, as opposed to, 3 or 4 times a year.
That's
I
up to
don't
the
know.
butters to come to when they're notified to that meeting and ask questions. If they don't, tough cookies. They've had the
They can
chance.
always go to the selectmen.
I could do that, too.
They can always go to the selectmen and complain.
All right. Other information, expected maximum attendance. This is to give the police and fire and others some sense of scale here. 50, 100, 500. Steve made the point that we should know whether alcoholic beverages are gonna be served outside, and if the liquor license allows that even. But we won't get specific, we're just going down the list of points of information.
Just to give you information on that,
Yeah.
if, in order to do the liquor license is for inside or for specified areas.
Right,
And
If
that's
I want to
it.
change that, I have to get a temporary liquor license, which is on the same license that I use inside.
yeah.
But I have to contact the state and get a separate license for any areas outdoors.
So that's,
Yeah, that's in effect for the state to regulate. But it is perhaps important potentially to police and others whether there will be alcohol served outdoors.
when they notify the police that they're having an event, they have to notify the police and the chief,
Yes,
fire chief.
yes.
So that's out of our hands.
Oh, absolutely, it's out of our hands, but
And
that
even
information
they
is
anticipated
something they should provide. Whether music is gonna be part of the event, and if so, the hours when it'll be audible at the property line. Amount of liability insurance you hold pertinent to planned events. I don't know if that's necessary or not, but I put it in there.
Well, this is all extracted from the
Yeah, it is.
from the
It
selectmen's
is.
ordinance, so,
And then
Yeah,
there's
that's where all
point,
this came from.
yeah.
yeah, that's where it came from.
Just
Point
copy
E, here, you affirm compliance and acceptance of section 7.07 of the ordinance, which says, I'll find it here, says that chief of police shall have the authority to assign police details to attend any public meeting or functions which he may determine may potentially involve traffic-related problems, lead to a public disturbance or nuisance, endanger public health, safety, or welfare. Okay. And then the applicant has to pay the police for that service. Just want to make sure that you understand.
Is there a
that.
thing in here that is there something here that says they have to notify the police department? They should have to,
I think we have that, yeah.
because that should be a
Yeah.
priority.
Under
They should be
6.
aware of it before it happens.
It's under number 6, safety and sanitation planning.
I'd like to see a 4 or 5 day notification prior,
Right.
so that the chief has time to set his schedule up for his
So,
officers.
point A is to
Would not be fair to them otherwise.
security.
Back to Steve, Bob.
That
This
is-
is covered under the noise ordinance, period. 10 o'clock is cut off
Yeah. Okay.
outside.
Well,
10 o'clock is cut off outside, period. Noise ordinance.
I know.
So, I mean,
Okay.
that's another one that.
That's
we
a pretty
don't-
early concert, but there you are.
Well, that's the law.
Again, this is for the information of abutters as much as anything.
This is a draft to be discussed.
Yeah,
and
yes,
see what
it's
applies.
pretty good shape, just a few things to
Yeah, I think so.
either adjust or to
Okay.
put that is flexible, depending on what's going on.
Number 6A, submit a security plan for events involving more than a certain number of people. I have no idea, 50, 75, or 100. It's really up to the police here, including presence of any trained security officers, police off-duty police to ensure crowd control, emergency vehicles have access to the site, parking arrangements are adequate, and so on.
Well, that would be up to the police or the fire.
Yes, it
to
should be.
discuss
Yeah,
that.
yeah. 5, general compliance with all laws and town state regulations. Well, that's in the ordinance. 6, something Steve raised, if pyrotechnics, if fireworks are to be involved at any event, provide detailed plan for safety, security, et cetera, approval of fire chief, et cetera, et cetera. I don't know if town law allows public displays of fireworks anywhere but the ones the town sponsors, but,
You gotta be licensed the whole 9 yards.
well, absolutely,
I'm sure they have to go before the selectmen even to consider doing that.
most probably.
So
But we want to know.
we could add that in there, that, any fireworks is up to selectmen.
Sometimes
Yeah.
musical concerts have fireworks, pyrotechnics.
Yep.
Sometimes if they're indoors, they ignite the building and everybody dies.
Yeah, I've seen more than that. That's why I said it should be up to
So
selectmen.
it can be,
Well, this is an
It
outdoor
also-
ordinance.
it is an outdoor ordinance, yeah, but still fireworks outdoors can harm.
Yeah, if you got close proximity to other buildings,
Mhm.
you gotta be careful of that too.
Okay.
That should be up to fire and selectmen.
I
Yes,
want to
right.
see a description of the sanitation facilities to be provided, such as porta potties. C, state in writing that you'll faithfully notify Ossipee Police and the appropriate fire chief of the date, type, and expected size of event, and maybe X number of days in advance. What do you
Yeah,
all think?
that's what Roy had mentioned.
Roy said,
I think they have 4 or 5 day notification,
or more.
or more, yeah.
Surely you would
No,
know
but
at
no
least
less
10
than
days in
5.
advance,
I
right?
think you have to have 30 on them.
30?
I think you have to have 30 on that.
I don't know.
Oh, if it's already, if it does say 30, just go, that's fine.
Yeah, whatever conforms with the ordinance, because the whole point of this is to gather information that conforms with the ordinance and also is consistent with
And
what
your fire and
the
your police need time, and they both need to be notified, so they both need to have time to look at it.
We can refine that. And then finally, if the applicant believes any of these requirements is not appropriate or necessary for a given kind of event, provide written reasons to support that belief, and we can waive an information requirement.
The only 2 exceptions, that would be the fire and the police,
Oh, yeah.
and the pyrotechnics, be 3.
Okay, so, do you all have a copy of? Okay, you got one? Okay. It would have been better if we'd been able to do this a week or 2 ago, but hey,
Yeah, it is, because I actually have to up my insurance for my outside events, and it's almost $4,000. So I need to know whether I can do it or not. That's why I'm coming again, because that's a good amount of money to shell out and then not be able to recoup it
I
back.
thought we already told them we could do it.
well, I mean, you have to up your
To
insurance.
submit to.
Let's say the insurance premium is $4,000, right?
Right.
Yeah, for what kind of level of liability we talking about here?
Oh, I think it was $2 million or
Oh.
something.
I think there's a 1 million requirement in the ordinance, if I'm not mistaken.
Most places are 1 million now.
My concern also is the fact that I just want to notify people so they're ready. In the event that I'm talking about is obviously the snowmobile racing right now,
Yeah.
and people are getting their snowmobiles ready right now, their kids are working on them and stuff.
Yep.
And if I promise that I'm gonna have it, I need to have it, because people put time and effort into it.
Right.
You know, we don't know how many events there's gonna be, there was only 2 last year.
Right.
The year before, there was 12. They could call for rain, it could snow, and
Right, yeah,
we'll
yeah.
have one tomorrow, you know,
Exactly,
just
yeah.
to, you know, because I try to make it happen for them. But, again, we could get no snow at all, and none happened, so it's hard for me to tell you. I mean, I've had days where there was only 25 people out there.
But
and
as
I've had days
Connie
where there was
says, we don't
75.
really need to know what your schedule is, because you can't know it, so how can we know it?
Right.
Here's the reference to insurance in the ordinance. General liability insurance listing the town of Ossipee as an additional named insured may be required when the event is held on public property. Well, we're not holding it on public property, it's private property.
Yeah.
That's his problem.
Yeah, it's her problem. The amount of such insurance, when required, shall be in the amount of $1 million per claim, $2 million in the general aggregate. In other words, you can
Right.
take care of 2 $1 million claims, I guess.
Yep, I think that's what my policy says, that's how I
Okay.
come up with the 2 million. And then I did have the town of Ossipee listed on there anyways, because I figured if any emergency personnel came or something like that. But, when I talked to my insurance agent, it was all covered.
Right.
Anyways, it's.
We don't want to get too far into the weeds in the planning of your events. We just want to make sure all the necessary information is out there and things are thought through, such as insurance.
Did we tell him to go ahead and do it anyways? Because we weren't ready.
No, I don't think
No,
we
you have to submit a plan.
He's had to submit an application or a plan, and
Yeah, I submitted I gave the notification to all the abutters, that's what I was told. And then I was told I had to come here tonight.
Yeah.
And
we take one and then deal with another, I think, rather than trying to do 2
Oh,
applications
sure.
at the same time.
Well, that's what we have on the agenda.
Uh,
Now, these are guidelines, but we can work with these so
Yeah, why not?
far.
They're
And,
not in Smith.
no, you know, if we find at a later date that there's something that should be, you know, changed because
I've
of.
seen his events, they're good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, okay, maybe we should just ask if any of the planning board members here, having looked at this for the first time, have any further comments or questions beyond what has already been raised.
I think we got a good start. We can adjust as we go.
Yeah.
And Steve? are you-
I agree.
Okay.
Bruce?
Right.
Okay. Dennis? You know, we'll use it and work along with it. as we
Yeah,
go along.
I don't see any reason why, this is a good start, what we have, and
We'll learn from it.
both of these gentlemen have been doing this in the past. This is new, not only to them, but to us, and I don't think we should hold them up from having
No, that was
their
not-
programs just because we can't get this all through.
And if this conflicts with something that they're doing, we'll have to discuss
Well,
it.
they've had permits before, which means they've been basically following these anyway.
Sure. Okay.
Yeah, we've done reference.
Roy, you got any more to say on it?
No, I think we got a very good start. I think we can, this is flexible because we're not married to every one of them.
Right.
Right.
I think it's a good place to be for this year. And if we see something different, we can add it in.
And
I think Bob did a
It's
good
also,
job.
it's also good to get things moving forward, not hold up anybody.
No, let's get him going.
Yep. Bob, anything else you want to add?
No, I guess we just now need to turn to the actual applications we've got here. One is perhaps more complete.
We want to vote to adopt these for the winter? We need to?
We can, as a guideline.
Do we not
No, I
need to?
think there's a consensus here that these are working guidelines, and we don't need to be more formal than that.
That's what I was asking. I didn't know if we legally had to or not.
Does let Connie speak.
I don't think we should adopt them tonight, because we've got to go over these when they're not here.
I think you're right.
And, I mean, it's like, I raised 4 or 5 points, but we got to throw them out as keep.
Well, the beauty of it.
We could use it tonight.
We don't have to use
Well, I
it.
mean, let's use common sense.
Yes.
We are.
That's all we're gonna use.
As a last resort.
That's all we
common
really
sense,
need to
right?
do.
Common sense.
Common sense prevails.
All right.
Yeah.
I mean, this gentleman has done it, and both of them have done it, so, you know, it's nothing new to them. And the only reason they're here is because
Selecting something here.
the selectmen sent them here because of some other business.
You decided to drop it now, that's all.
All right, all right, well, if we're done discussing this, we'll go into the cases. First case is 16-1, site plan review addendum, Sunny Villa LLC. Owner Time Carnes, Jim Carnes presents for amendment to the original site plan review to hold a seasonal outdoor event. Property is located at 2055 Route 16, tax map 25, lot 30. Tim?
I move that the
I think you have the address.
application
in
is
there.
complete.
It's on with my address.
Can you find the application?
What is the
1020
address?
Route 16. It's 1020 Route 16.
Yeah, but it is
1020.
Yes.
not transposed.
Okay, all righty.
Okay, this is, I'm sorry, this, I just got Sunny Villa in front of me right now. Do we have, how much of the information that's on this list do we actually have? We've got the owner, the address.
Move that the application is complete.
It is? Does it specify the zone, roadside commercial, right? Roadside commercial.
Roadside commercial, yeah.
Where have you described the events that you're planning?
I don't know if it's on that paper that you have. I had stopped by with, Lauren? I stopped by and we discussed, I wasn't really sure what to do where I was the first one here. So we filled out 19 abutter letters, because I have 19 abutters and triplicates and labels and
Sure did.
sent them all up certified. And pretty much I spoke to most of my neighbors and there was nobody that was.
Well,
Tell them on
actually-
the gate.
Yeah. What I'm asking for is item 3 in this these guidelines, description of the events.
Yep.
We need a kind of description of the events you plan. Now, you know, what we can do is list things that you should submit to us in writing. We can approve this on a contingency basis. You just give us, as soon as you can, what's needed,
Sure.
okay?
Because we did 8 weddings last year. We did probably 16 fundraisers outside. I do a lot of fundraisers and.
Those are concerts or?
Not in general. A lot of times they're fundraisers. Like I do a lot with Relay for Life and things like that.
Okay.
I think twice we had music outside.
Okay. Especially like a
sometimes
large
they'll-
cocktail party in which people show up and leave money behind.
No, yeah. No, we did a biker rodeo during Bike Week. That was for a local person that had cancer and.
Again, it would
we
be
did
really
events.
useful to have a listing of the kinds of events that you
Sure.
plan to have for, if there are any abutters or if they're
Yep.
interested.
Sure, yeah, I can put something together for you.
Also, we had Jake's draw maps and show us where
We did.
the events are gonna be, et cetera, et cetera. Is that for Sunny Villa?
They did.
We should have a quick sketch draw.
I don't see the maps in any event.
Yeah, there's a map here.
It should be one
And
in
it's a
your
map of the
packet.
property. It doesn't show us where the events are gonna be or where anything is gonna be. It's just a map of the property.
It is, yeah. It doesn't show the events, where the events are gonna be. In fact, it doesn't show which
I
of these.
do have
show
a,
anything.
I do have a drawing of the racetrack that's been submitted to my insurance company every year that I could send you. And then as far as Outback events go, usually they're limited to the porch or the fenced-in area that the commissioner already approved
Okay,
anyways.
then if you just describe it that way, and if you do have a map that you submit to your insurance company, why not give it to us too?
Sure, yeah,
Okay?
If it's pre-approved, just list it as pre-approved.
Yeah.
About who approved it.
yeah.
Yeah,
Well, that could be a condition.
yeah, that's a condition.
Yeah.
All right. Keep a list of conditions if you would, Laura, please. First, descriptions of the actual events you plan. Brief, paragraph or whatever.
And where it's gonna be on the property,
And
it's
where on
gonna
the
be
map
held on the
property's
property.
gonna be.
Indicate on a map of the property what events are
Right.
gonna be held where.
Yeah, the map you gave your insurance.
I mean, if it's on the back porch, you indicate it's on the back porch.
Sure, like put together a key and then have it.
You can take a map like this and just over on the side, write down all your events and put a number on it and put a number over on the map. But it's gotta be bigger than this so you can tell where they are.
Yep, I can do that.
Can you estimate maximum attendance at each of the kinds of events that you expect?
For as far as outside events, I mean, we've never had over 200. My capacity for the building's 349.
That's in or outside?
Inside capacity.
We're only concerned about outside.
Okay, we've never had over 200. There was one time we had 200 for one of our fundraisers.
So if you would simply state in your submission to us, maximum attendance, probably not greater than 200,
Approximately.
approximately 200,
Yeah.
max.
And we've never had more for an event than we've had on a Friday night or Saturday night. Like, there's only so many parking spots anyway, so that's all that we can fit.
We don't have enough parking spots, that's it, we can't do this.
I put another parking lot down over the hill just for the snowmobile trailers.
Yeah, I saw that.
Well, I didn't take into consideration that every snowmobiler has a trailer, so you actually need twice as much parking as you
Well, they
think.
do, yeah, they got
Yeah.
it there somehow,
And
yeah.
they need to have the ability to turn them around, so.
Yeah, your breakdown lane's pretty narrow over there.
And actually, we had people on the road directing traffic in to make sure they didn't get blocked off.
Yeah.
We also, on the north side, the ramp that comes up, we make sure that's clear for the fire department to be able to get down there, or police department, emergency vehicles. I have that as a one-way during our
If you
events.
have a crowd of up to 200 people, do you have, as a rule, a trained security officer, an off-duty police officer, just in case there's a problem?
I never have. I mean, truthfully, it's not a drinking event. It's a family event. So,
Okay.
I mean, the biggest thing that happens is somebody gets mad that someone threw a snowball at somebody or something, which is
Yeah.
really relevant. It's not a concert. And truthfully, if I had a concert or I was thinking of having something like that, I would have security just because that's what happens in those events.
Okay, well, you can see under 6A, we're looking for information about parking, et cetera, and this is the kind of information the police probably want to know too, when you submit a notice to them.
Yeah, I think when the applicant discusses the events with the police and the fire, they'll be able to tell
I
what
think
they're
the
gonna need.
security's up to the police.
Sure, that's what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
absolutely.
Yeah, and I've talked to the fire department each year, and actually, usually there's police there, but they're participating. We've had them there, I've had them there, racing, and I've also had them there, just watching with their kids. So, it's more of a family event, and again, that's kind of what I'm leaning towards. I'm not looking towards being an outside venue. I don't want the trouble that comes with that.
No.
I'd rather
So,
be a family.
we'd like to see, again, this is under 6C, that you promise to faithfully notify the Ossipee Police and appropriate fire chiefs of dates of events which may be of concern to them,
Mhm.
okay?
So would you like me to call them each week in the wintertime if we're having an event, if I know it's coming, or?
Well, you ask them how they want to be notified, okay? It's up to them.
Sure,
And when? How far in advance?
yeah.
Tell them what type of events you're having and what they want for notification for.
All we want to be assured is that you will notify them according to their wishes.
Sure,
And-
yeah, that
and
makes
in writing,
sense.
Let's put it this way, if you don't, we may pull your permit.
right? Right.
Bob, would you like to put that in the motion and with the conditions?
Yeah, okay.
Well, you gotta
Well, I think
accept-
Connie has
Well,
already
Connie's-
moved
Connie's
You
moved.
either accept the application
as
or you
complete.
don't.
Well, it's kind of hard to accept that it's complete, but,
Well, we can put a condition on it.
yeah, all right.
Yeah, and I could put that right together for you
Yeah.
and drop it off.
All right, so I'll second Connie's motion that it's complete, contingent on your supplying all the providing of the
Conditional,
Pardon?
conditional.
Conditional, yeah. Conditional completion.
That they supply a plan,
Map.
a map,
Now,
maps showing the areas of the events.
listing the types of events you expect to sponsor during the year.
Sure,
Approximate maximum size, as you stated, up to 200. That you will faithfully notify police and appropriate fire chiefs as according to their wishes in terms of how often.
Well, I don't need to be on the thing, that's just in the motion.
All right. There is an item here that mentions, and this is at Steve's suggestion, if any fireworks are to be involved, absolutely has to be notified well in advance to fire and police. Even if it's a concert in which somebody shoots off some Roman candles.
yeah,
And
makes
they
sense.
need to notify the selectmen, period.
Yeah, no, okay, perhaps.
All right, there's a motion on the floor,
Yeah.
and seconded. You got all the conditions.
We have a motion on the floor for a conditional application completeness.
Yes.
so we need to vote on that first.
Yeah,
Yes.
I know.
Okay.
But you do have the conditions, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay,
I
and so
have
further
6.
discussion.
Any more discussion?
And what about public input here?
Okay.
Do
All right.
we,
All right. Is it-
No,
is
you
it-
have to vote on the
Can we put-
application
yeah.
first.
Okay, right.
All right. Any more discussion on
No,
the,
you can't discuss it, you gotta vote on it.
Oh, he's wondering if the discussion is over so we can vote on it.
okay? Okay, since there's no further comments, all in favor of Connie's motion with the conditions? Any opposed? Okay. So that's on the application.
No, my public input?
Is there anyone from the public would like to comment?
Is there a young woman here who might like to say something? No? Maybe not. Okay.
Make a motion that we approve the application,
Conditional on the
conditional.
I'll second
the
it.
information requested.
Okay, there's been a motion by Connie, seconded by Roy, to approve the application and with the conditions stated prior.
Right.
Any discussion from the board? All those in favor? Any opposed? Okay. You got it.
I have one quick question for you, actually.
Uh-oh.
Well, this is something that just got brought to my attention that, and I don't know how to go about this, so I figured you'd be the ones to ask. On my property, where my leach field is, Gerard Constantino next door got his property surveyed. And somehow his property line moved from like here to kind of going like this. So it literally now goes across my leach field. So we've talked about it because I also have a right of way in his property, which I don't need. Like I don't have any need to go sit in his property. And then also he doesn't really want my leach field on his property. So we discussed doing a line lot, some kind of adjustment. where we
Boundary
just-
line
adjustment.
Boundary line adjustment.
Yes.
And I would just in trade, because I own behind him too, I would in trade give him the property he needs to stay at 2 acres because, and it's really only 6 feet long by like 30 feet, but it literally goes right across my leach fields. We just kind of want to move the line back like this.
Moving the line might require a survey, which would be
That's what I
expensive.
was
So
asking.
wouldn't an easement, a mutually agreed easement be more satisfactory?
He doesn't want to do an easement. He's just concerned that then there would be people from my place on his property, and he would rather just have it.
Well, no, it's only a leach field that's on his property. It's not
Right.
gonna cause any disturbance. But
Right.
you already got an easement for a right-of-way through his property.
I have an easement go right away through
So
his
that's not an
property.
issue.
Right,
The issue is your leach field is, what, 6 feet over in his property?
right.
According to his latest survey, okay. But since that's unlikely to disturb anybody, I don't understand why an easement couldn't just solve the problem.
Well, if you look by the sign, there's like a little road going down, and the road going down is a road that I use going down there, and that actually, it's weird because there was a pin out there, and what they did was they moved the pin over about 15 feet, so then the line now goes at an angle. So because of that, it changed.
Who moved the pin?
What's that?
Who moved the pin?
I think White Mountain Survey did when they surveyed it.
So it was a resurvey and they
They did a
adjusted
resurvey and they moved the pin that was there, and, which the pin that was there literally, I mean, you know how the old deeds are, there was a license plate in a tree with a pin in the ground, and
I think I'm getting all the way plain to
I
resurvey
think
it
there's
again.
nothing, you could always do a boundary line adjustment, and that's something that we then, approve routinely. But if you can find a simpler, cheaper way to do it just between you and the other property owner, that's probably better for everybody. I would
yeah,
think.
that's what I was looking at, the $4,000 that it would cost to move the pin over. So I was hoping there was an easier way to.
There is, well, the easement.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have nothing to do with easements, that's between the two property owners.
So you can do that without a site plan or without?
Oh, yeah, yeah. Any two property owners can mutually agree to an easement, which is then recorded in the deed, I believe,
Okay, I'll talk to
As
you
you
about
know,
that and
lawyer.
see.
right?
Oh, you're better off to have it surveyed. They come in with a boundary line adjustment and to change your deed. Otherwise, 5 years down the road, you might have problems.
Well, that's what we're looking at. We're looking at the future and having problems, and I was just curious.
If they do a replacement, it might be a problem.
It might be a problem. No, that, and you know, and again, I mean, if he's ever gonna sell, he doesn't want my huge field on his property, as well as that right of way I have through his property doesn't exist anymore. That was before his building was there was a little road there, which now is all filled.
Your right of way go through his building then.
Yeah, it does.
Okay.
It used to, you know. Okay.
If you have an easement on his property, it should be recorded in his deed.
Okay.
And without, if they built on that easement without your permission, that's their problem. You can make them rip the building down.
T9 works good.
So probably the best solution is work it out between you.
Yeah, we've been amicable about it. We're talking about it. We just want to try to do the easiest.
But we
cheapest way to do
we
it.
don't adjudicate these issues.
Right.
Yeah.
We simply approve or don't approve, usually do approve, any
Right.
boundary line adjustment that comes before us.
I didn't know if we needed to go to a surveyor to have a boundary line adjustment,
yeah.
if we could just do it
Yeah,
with an attorney.
absolutely, you have to.
It has to be a plan that'll go to the county.
Right.
So it's got to be signed by a surveyor or engineer.
Okay, that was my question, actually.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Thank you. And have fun.
Yeah, thanks, we will, right?
I look forward to it.
All right, the next case is case 16-2, site plan review amendment. Jake Seafood Company, LLC, owner Alan Prentice, presents for amendment to original site plan review to expand business by holding a seasonal outdoor event for Winter Garden Trail located at, what's the same address as the previous one? 2055 Route 16, tax map 25, lot 30. Alan,
Yes.
go right ahead.
I think he has conditional application approval. And you brought the necessary papers.
I've already submitted them.
Yeah.
Much of the information we
Map
require
here,
is actually here.
got a brief description of what you hold, but you have all that in here.
Yeah, it should have all been
It
submitted
was
by
all
now.
sent to you, should be in your packets.
That's towards the back.
You've got a security plan, you've
Yep.
spoken with the fire chief.
I actually got a permit from
Okay.
Carl. I have not spoken to police chief yet. I will, of course, do that. You know, as Tim was saying, with the volume of people that we're looking at, I don't envision having more people at any time during this event on the property than I would, say, in the summertime. I would guess that there are probably more people on the property during the normal course of business in the summertime than we will be fortunate enough to see at any time this winter.
Yeah, you have an ambulance medical plan, you characterize the events, maximum 100 to 300 people attend daily. Described alcohol is served in a limited space.
Actually, we're not serving alcohol out back this year.
Okay,
Just
so no alcohol.
I just have this.
All right.
We don't have anything referring to liability insurance here, I presume you have.
Yeah, he does.
You do?
It's in there, I just read it.
I missed it. Very good.
He has workman's comp and liability.
Yeah.
If we're gonna do it, we would ask you to maybe submit a
Right there.
affirmative statement that you will accept, yeah, you're right, 7.07, which is to say, if the police decide that this requires the presence of a police officer, they will put one there and they will charge you for it.
Actually, I think I covered that in the letter stating that I didn't feel that we would need police presence on a weekly basis or whatever, but if if it did get to the point where they felt they needed to come or we needed them, then I would of course cover those costs.
All right. This feels awful complete to me.
Yeah, I'm just going to comment on that too.
Like I said, it looks all good to me.
Make a motion, it's completely accepted?
You accept the application?
Yes.
We already accepted it.
Pardon me?
We accepted it with conditions. last meeting.
Oh, we did, okay, I'm sorry.
We did.
Ah, okay.
Oh, okay, that's why
And
we asked
it
him
was
to bring it.
continued until tonight.
Aha, you're
Bring a
right.
plan in.
I know what I made for a motion.
Yeah,
You sure?
Yeah.
it's complete now.
All right, so it feels complete, it is complete. Anybody second that?
That's it.
Okay, okay, then a second. All right, any discussion on the amendment?
The only question I have, are you planning on drawing any water from the river?
Most likely, yes.
Do you need a state permit for that?
I don't
I
believe so.
think you do.
Okay.
I'm not sure.
Depends on the quantity he's gonna draw.
Yeah,
I know, but
It's not for human
wants to
consumption.
try-
It's not for human consumption, it's basically agricultural use. I mean, it's gonna get frozen and go right back into the river.
I understand
You
that.
still wanna check that because there are regulations on the amount of water you can use for you have to have a permit.
Okay.
They changed that, what, 6,
Steve, do you
7
know
years
anything
ago.
about that?
No, I don't.
Okay.
Even farm ponds, now, a farmer has to get permit, he uses so much of his own pond. Over
Some
some,
pond.
yep,
Well, the state owns
I think
surface
we're
waters,
talking-
but this is not a
what do you,
surface
what do you
water.
plan on doing with this? I mean, how many gallons are
Like
you
ice?
talking?
I would have to do the math.
Well, I think there's a cutoff, it's something like 20,000 gallons or
I
something like
don't know what
that.
it is, but
You have
that's
to
why I
permit-
brought it up.
Okay.
So that
Okay.
you can, Alan, you,
You might check with DES.
But you do have to have permits.
Just check with DES to see if
you
you
can look up the
need
computer, just go into DES and check on permits for
water withdrawal from a stream.
water usage. They'll take it, it's like 20,000 gallons or something like that, it's quite a bit. But a farmer does a lot of irrigation, does have to permit. Small farms don't, but you start using a lot of water and you have to.
20,000 gallons is enough for a good-sized swimming pool.
Yeah, we'll exceed that.
Okay. All right.
Probably.
so I mean, I
Suggest you
just
do
don't
that.
want you to start pumping out of the river.
You get
And all of a
arrested.
sudden,
They probably never seen it.
25,000 gallons.
I don't want any trouble. Yeah, I'll get right on that.
That'll probably ever get said, but you never know.
Well, I'd rather be on the right side of the law.
Yep.
yeah,
Okay.
You want to make that as a condition?
no,
No, we don't need to, that's
No,
just,
just let him do it on his
that's
own.
like leach fields between him and the state.
Okay,
No.
all right.
State
We'll take care of
regulation,
it.
make sure you're compliant.
It's not our jurisdiction, it's just giving him a warning that he needs to check on it.
yeah.
Okay. All right. Any more discussion? Anything from the public?
You're the public.
Okay, Connie made a motion to approve the application, the amendment.
He's been second.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor?
All right.
Okay, any opposed? You got it.
Excellent.
Nice packet too, by the
Yeah,
way.
yeah,
Well, thank you.
it's sort of
Thank you.
a marvel of how to do it, I think.
Hanging up with a moral template.
You probably don't want to put the large-scale drawing that is, you can put it on your wall. Can I give you a call, can I give you a call tomorrow?
Pretty common.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Good evening.
Have
Did
a
you
nice
want this
evening.
back?
Sure, I worked hard on that.
Yes, you did.
Have fun.
Thanks. Gonna go meet some ice.
Okay, the next item on their old business is the Plan New Hampshire ADUs. How many of our board members attended that meeting? Three. Okay.
And Steve.
Well, Steve was in charge, I understand.
He chickened out.
He did.
Rather than have a lengthy, drawn-out discussion on what we're going to propose, I'd like to
Well, I'll
appoint.
stop you right there. There is a petition which has been validated as the necessary number of registered voters in the town of Ossipee to put it on the ballot. Already, period. Adopting 674, 71, 72, and 73. So, I don't know how you're gonna change it.
Well, there may be competing ballot measures. We, Steve and I, and to some extent with Frank Riley, have worked up suggested amendments that you all saw before this meeting. We didn't vote on it. I asked you not to vote on it, just for informational purposes. And after the meeting, we worked together to refine that a little bit. But I'm uncomfortable with being the one guy who's somehow doing this. So I wanted to ask Ski to perhaps form a little subcommittee here to work on, with Steve, a final draft amendments. There are two amendments, one for attached and one for unattached dwelling units, that would be presented to the planning board at the next meeting, if we could. That would be my suggestion.
All right. Well, I think it's a good idea to have a small group of the members of the board.
Well, you're not gonna get it. You're not gonna get either the petition or that one passed, because you're gonna confuse the people. Period.
Well,
So the petition could be withdrawn if you happen to like the people who put that on there happen to like what we're putting forward.
I don't think it'll get withdrawn.
It's not gonna be withdrawn,
There's been a
period.
promise made for 2 or 3 years by this board, made to Rick Morgan, made to Harry Merrill, and it wasn't followed through, and people got pissed off. I told you they're going on.
Well,
Well,
Selectmen will
Promises
also-
weren't kept,
the selectmen will
and that's
also
what
have a
makes,
say.
well, some of the selectmen signed it.
Selectmen will also have a say as to whether they want to see the amendment approved by their own zoning officer.
No, they
on the
can't.
ballot.
They have to present that petition and that set of whatever was on the petition to the townspeople in a ballot vote. Period.
Fine. But that does not preclude the planning board from also suggesting its own amendments in cooperation with the town.
I would like to still have a 3-person subcommittee look at the new RSAs, and if they agree with them, don't agree with them, they want to change in any way, we
You
can
already
still
got-
do that.
You've already got people who've got the mind map, they don't want the stuff they had
Well,
for years. They
right.
don't want no more kids in the school system, but we pay for all the school system, whether we're in this town or another town anyways. We're driving our kids out of town.
Roy, that's the way you feel, and
That's exactly the way I felt. I felt that way for quite a while.
But I would still like to have a 3-person committee to look at the RSAs, the new RSAs, and come back to the board in 2 weeks at the next meeting and give us the findings, irregardless of your petition. And I would like to put
It's
you.
not my petition. It's not my petition. I signed it. Like I said in this meeting, when this was all first brought up, I said, no, I'll sign the petition instead. And I did.
I told you,
Rick
people have
Morgan.
asked not to put the petitions up for 2 years, so we're supposed to work on it, never did.
And we never
Amen.
did. No.
Well, anyway,
And section 4.4 is discriminatory and illegal with what we passed 2 years ago.
well, I would still like to appoint a committee, and they can give their inputs between the 3 of
Maybe
them.
we have volunteers for this committee? I'd volunteer.
Would you like to volunteer? Go ahead. All right. Bob? Dennis?
I'm busy going between.
Why not?
Okay, Bruce? All right. Roy?
Nope.
Maybe you can do Rick.
I've tried to work on this 3 years, as far as I'm concerned, it's too late at this
Well,
point, to
as
let
you
the
know,
vote
we've
goes.
been working on this actually for the last.
Let me
We
see if
worked on
Rick,
this for 3 years, 4 years, like I've asked to. This has been put aside, I've been laughed at, made fun of, and told no, so.
Well, we've been working on this in the planning board for the last month and a half.
We have not worked on it the last 3 or 4 years I've requested. Rick Morgan and Harry Merrill said right here, it's supposed to be done the next year, and it wasn't done.
all right.
And when I brought it up, I was told no.
All right.
So the planning board doesn't keep its word, so let the voters talk.
Okay, Roy. I'll check with Rick if he can be on it.
Okay.
The 3 committee. If not, I'll be on it.
Very good.
But I'll check with Rick first. So I'll call you and Bruce tomorrow, try to get a hold of Rick, and then you can take it from there.
Yeah, and we will produce
And you're putting a man,
forgive me, we will produce 2 draft amendments that meet the needs of the zoning officer at least, and our own views.
Zoning officer gets paid to do as the voters want, not what he wants.
He's the expert on the subject.
Not
And we will
necessarily.
bring it forward to the planning board at the next meeting.
All right. The next item is the master plan revision. Do you have any further?
Yeah, I'm sorry that Frank is not here tonight. He's ill. He gets recovered pretty quickly. He's had a bad case of flu.
That's about 2 weeks long.
Yeah, well, it's going into other signage and so on.
I just get out of it.
I want to relate a conversation, a very good constructive conversation that Frank and I had a little over a week ago on the subject of a build-out plan, which I feel strongly that we need to do for the benefit of the master plan. And I will faithfully reflect our conversation. I told Frank, first of all, that the build-out plan is simply a digital projection of what a town would look like if it's completely developed, if its existing land, developable land is completely developed at some point in the future. And the point of the build-out study is to help anticipate issues that arise as development accelerates or grows, so that you can deal with these issues sooner rather than later. Secondly, it can help identify areas that are good prospective commercial development areas that we may not have identified yet. And thirdly, issues that it raises can help us suggest to us questions that belong in a town-wide survey that I think we agree we all want to do. Now, I've been talking to the State Office of Energy and Planning, OEP, and also the Lakes Region Planning Commission about how to do a good, effective master plan that people will read and put some value in. They have made the point, both, that a build-out plan, a build-out study has long been, for years, has been considered a standard best practice for towns as they update their master plan, along with a town-wide survey. So they strongly recommend doing it. Secondly, it appears that most towns have done these. In fact, essentially all towns in our area, and as far as Lakes Region Planning Commission knows, most towns within their region, some 30 towns, have done these studies without controversy. Further, I told Frank that because the town turned down a proposal to pay for such a plan at the last town meeting, we have a proposal from the Danhole Pond Watershed Trust, a local land use trust in Ossipee, that's willing to raise the $6,000 required for this study, contract for it, have the planning board and any other board that's interested work directly with the contractor as a kind of oversight committee, an oversight group, to make sure that it's done usefully and not in any way that can be construed as misleading for the town. So we would be able to direct the study. They don't want anything from us. This is just because they believe that the town needs to do such a study. Frank listened to all of this and he said, well, I'll tell you what you should do. Ask Danhole Pond Watershed Trust to send a letter to the planning board outlining their proposal. The planning board should consider it. Excuse me. Planning board should consider it. And he said, I will not object. I took that. Pardon? Well, I take that to mean he might abstain, but he would not vote against it. And so, I took that as a good positive reaction.
Can I ask a question? I thought we laid this to rest permanently before.
No, I think we have not. No.
Did we not?
So, no. So at Frank's suggestion.
Yeah, we did. Right after the vote, we brought it up. We said we voted not to bring it up again.
Excuse me. At Frank's suggestion, I passed this suggestion on to Danhole Pond Watershed Trust, and we now have a letter from them outlining their proposal. I'd like to be able to read that if I could.
Go ahead.
You all can read it. You got a copy. But for the benefit of people who may watch this on television or on internet rather, I'd like to put this on the record if I may. It's a brief letter. Dear Ski, the Dan Hole Pond Watershed Trust is an Ossipee-based nonprofit land trust whose main purpose is the conservation of forest land in the Dan Hole Pond watershed. We're not an advocacy organization. We do not engage in politics. We do, however, value thoughtful, informed town planning, which benefits all of us. In this regard, we applaud the Ossipee Planning Board for taking on the task of updating the town's master plan. We and many others, including Ossipee businesses, strongly believe this effort would benefit from the information provided in a build-out study to project what Ossipee would look like, no doubt many years from now, if it were fully developed according to the current zoning ordinance. Build-out studies in many other towns, including the Ossipee area, have proven very useful in anticipating future issues, stimulating discussion on how to resolve such issues sooner rather than later. A build-out study could also help identify new opportunities for commercial development while preserving Ossipee's rural character that our residents and visitors appreciate. As you may know, New Hampshire state agencies and regional planning commissions have for many years recommended build-out studies as a standard best practice in updating master plans. Nearly all towns in our area, as I said, probably most in the state, have already completed theirs without controversy. Mindful that a narrow vote in the last town meeting defeated a proposal for the town to pay for a build-out study, the Dan Hole Pond Watershed Trust proposes to raise the required $6,000 from individuals and businesses in Ossipee and to contract for this study for the benefit of the town at no cost to the town. Such studies are or should be merely informational, not prescriptive. It's up to town bodies like the planning board to decide what to do with the information they provide. To ease any concerns that a build-out study could in some way be misleading, we suggest that the planning board and any other interested town bodies organize an informal oversight committee to work with the contractor we propose to use, FB Environmental of Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and Portland, Maine, to understand and refine the assumptions and the data that go into the study. We ask only that the planning board and any other town bodies affirm an interest in this study and a commitment to consider the information that it produces. This will help us raise the necessary funds from donors, and if the planning board agrees and we are able to raise the funds, we will contract for the study and give the report to the board. We look forward to your response. Sincerely, Bob Pratt, President of the Dan Hole Pond Watershed Trust. So, again, this letter comes out of Frank's suggestion, which I thought was very constructive. It's very important, I think, for us to be able to do this. We need the information. Other towns have found it extremely useful. And I would ask you all to please join me in approving a quick response to Dan Hole Pond that says, well, we find this potentially useful, that we will carefully consider any information or the information this study produces, and we will take advantage of the Oversight Committee's suggestion to work with the contractor to make sure this is of maximum utility to the town of Ossipee. And I have to tell you finally, this offer is not on the table very long. The contractor is doing this, able to do this for $6,000 because he has a state grant that covers $4,000 of the actual cost. Normally it's $10,000. So after the end of this year, when that grant expires, the cost goes up to $10,000. Now it's been suggested, well, maybe we should go back to town meeting and ask again this time. Frank actually said if it had been presented differently, or if the Conservation Commission had just done it, there might have been no controversy at all. Quite possibly he's right. But I think we'd be in a pretty awkward position to go to town meeting and ask the town to provide $10,000 for a study that we could have done for free a few months earlier. So I would ask for a vote if we can.
We asked that before.
To respond.
I don't think we can take a vote. I'm requesting that Laura goes back to the first 2 meetings after the town turned it down, because I believe we had a heated discussion about that. It was voted down, it would never be brought up again. I remember quite a heated exchange over that, and we voted not to bring it up again, which means this vote can't take place.
So I make a motion that we throw out the old vote and start a new one.
We can always do that. And
Is that a
especially,
motion now?
especially since there is
why
new
not?
information available now that wasn't available when this was last discussed.
I'll second Bruce's motion
To do what?
to disregard the previous.
Disregard the first vote, what if it ever even happened, not to reconsider this.
Would you like to make your motion to include a positive response and acceptance of their offer?
Sure.
Okay.
You still second?
I'll second it that way. Since it's a freebie,
It
I
is.
don't see anything wrong with it.
Again,
I think you're overriding what the voters wanted. They didn't want it.
Again, Frank asked me twice, at least, that there would be no cost to the town, he said. I said, no, there'd be no cost to the town. And the Dan Hole Pond Trust is not asking anything for themselves. This is just because they think it's a very good idea. I'm sorry that Ash Fishbein isn't here. He is the chairman of the Ossipee Economic Development Committee, also is a strong proponent of doing this study, and he thinks, and others on the committee, think that it could also be very useful for their purposes.
Conservation Commission, the entire commission is for the study.
All right.
Preservation Commission, you mean, and nothing conservation about them at all.
Connie?
I don't want to be a naysay, but 60% of this town does not pay full taxes. It's either government, churches, conservation land, or current use. So that leaves 40% to be studied. Because that's the 40% is just about what's already pre-built. And regardless of whether it's free or not, this town voted no. They didn't want it done. Done.
The town
The
voted.
town voted no.
I was at that meeting,
The
but
town
they did not
voted
want it,
no
period.
on a measure to spend $3,000 on this
Town
study.
voted no to pay for it.
That's
That's
right.
all they
That's
voted
correct.
no for.
Now,
They voted no.
They voted no
They
for
talked
money.
against it too, I was at that meeting.
Just
well, I was there too. People talked
money.
for
All
it,
right,
they
one at a
talked
time.
against it. That's not the point. The point is the question was never asked, would you reject a free study? So the only vote that was taken was the vote on whether to spend money on this
You wonder why the
project.
people hate the planning board.
Yeah. One other aspect of this that I think really ought to be mentioned. We have a legal obligation under RSA 674, which sets out the duties and the responsibilities and the authorities of planning boards, among other things, to update a master plan every few years and to gather information that we feel is necessary and useful for that purpose. We would be putting ourselves, if we don't accept this offer, putting ourselves in the position of deliberately denying ourselves access to information that other towns have found useful. In fact, no other town has found controversial. That's pretty bizarre, I think, and it constitutes what I would call, in effect, self-censorship. How can we do a master plan that's a product of self-censorship? Makes no sense to me. And I personally wouldn't want to be involved in a deliberately deficient master plan update.
All right.
Got a motion?
Anybody else want to speak?
Yeah. I certainly don't want to go against what the people in this town voted for. But there's a difference of opinion on what they will vote for. This town has never had a problem setting money aside to get something done that was needed. Whether it be fire, anything. This town has always been agreeable. The biggest problem with that vote that night was it was attached to Green Mountain, period. Okay? It had nothing to do with money. People say you voted down. It was not money. And people I've talked to, it was association with the Green Mountain And they were worried that there were gonna have to be some favoritism or some side stuff going on. I read this letter. There's no mention of anything there of us even using the information. It just says that we'll look at it and do what we think is right with it.
That's right.
We're supposed to do what's best for the town. I think if the town had an opportunity, and I'm one of them, I would go along with this with no strings attached. What people don't want to see are strings attached. And that's the way it came across at that meeting that night.
Not the way it came across to me, which is why we took the vote not to revisit this again. And now we're revisiting,
I don't remember
overturn the
that, but
vote.
it might be true.
It happened, that's why I asked for it, and we're gonna override it without looking at it. You know, and I'm being called a liar already. Well, if the vote actually, the vote happened, we had a heated discussion like we're having right now. So, you know, you guys, what you want to do, obviously, we're outvoted, but I'm voting against it.
All right. I'm going to,
You wonder why the people are pissed off, and why Trump got in, this is exactly why. We get a vote, and then everybody overrides the vote, and they don't care what the people think.
We have a zoning map in the town of Ossipee. You have restrictions on building. You have New Hampshire Forestry, Dan Hole Pond. They all have an interest in easements, etc. So for Dan Hole Pond to come up here is no different to me than Green Mountain. Green Mountain is not well liked. Dan Hole Pond, I don't know where their watershed is. Because they were trying to buy easements from Scott down at Duncan Lake. So, and they've got another one that they want to do, the Conservation Committee does, to take another 140 some odd acres out.
They don't cut their property, they're not conservationists, they're preservationists.
Let me tell you that this is actually not an original idea. The one instance that any of us have been able to find in which a town selectman didn't want to pay for a build-out study was in Lovell, Maine. So we haven't got any New Hampshire examples, we've got Lovell, Maine. They just didn't want to pay for it. It was about a $10,000 study. And so a local land use conservation, land use trust gathered up the money through local donors, contracted to get it done, and gave the town the study, and everybody was happy with it. So I'd say this is not an original idea, and it worked well for Lovell, Maine. No reason why it can't work well for us. You know. Steve, do you have any thoughts about that? You're not a voting member anyway, it doesn't matter.
all right, I'm going to call the question
I'd
now.
like to hear more of what, your feeling on that study. You think that it's,
I think the town people voted against it, we represent the town people, we took a vote here, we discussed it lengthily right after the town meeting, and we voted to not bring it up again, it was a dead issue.
Why would we not
second,
want the information
we
that
did
it might
it, we had the
produce?
discussion, that's why I asked you to pull up the minutes, and you're gonna override it anyways, what the hell's the difference? You guys can do what you wanna do, because you all work together anyways.
All right,
that's,
All right, let's,
I'm here to try and do what's best for the town.
Well, the town did not want it
I
at the time.
understand that.
And until the town changes mind, I'm not changing my mind.
all right, let's, we had a motion, we had seconded, we've had discussion. All those,
Can you
in-
review the motion, please? So I have it worded correctly?
The motion is to override any previous vote.
It was Bruce's.
I'm sorry, was it?
Like you said, the motion was to override the previous vote and not to reconsider this and to
And to
answer
accept
the letter
the offer with a letter
in
that
the
says,
affirmative.
we appreciate your offer, we consider it potentially useful, we will carefully consider whatever information it produces, period. And, fourth, we will also take advantage of your offer to work directly with the contractor and any other town bodies that want to join us to work with the contractor to make sure this is of maximum usefulness to us.
I said all that.
Excuse me, but you cannot expand that motion.
Yeah.
Go back to your original motion, Bruce. Either voted yes or no.
Okay, we could vote yes or no, and then we could
Bob-
decide what the letter should
Bob is
say.
sitting there.
Okay, Connie, we're gonna do that. Calm down.
He's
We're gonna
gotta withdraw his
I love the way they run this.
first. Your first motion, then he seconded it. Then you changed your motion, and he seconded it. So, you got two motions
You wanna do
on
it
the
that way,
floor.
Bruce?
Okay, here we go, Connie.
All right.
I'll
This
withdraw
one's tax
any and
bill,
all
bill.
motions I put
We got
up.
to be
Thank
building
you.
restrictions as is. If we-
I'll
if
withdraw
we-
my second.
if we
Now
adopt-
I'll
if
make
we
another
adopted
motion.
this, I'd say
Gentlemen,
yes.
Please,
We
can
never adopted it.
can we listen to, Bruce is going to reformulate a motion.
I'll make a new motion that we reconsider the build-out study in, what's the wording? Not,
Any previous vote,
to reconsider, that does it right there.
Excuse me. You make the motion. You keep your mouth shut, please.
thank you very
He's
much.
making the motion.
All right, that's enough.
Okay, it's a public, it's a free country. Bob, would you help me with my motion and give me some wording?
glad
Come
to.
over here
I'd
and
be-
whisper
Then
in
let
my
him
ear.
make the motion.
Pardon me?
Then let him make the motion.
Okay. You wanna make the motion, Bob?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, let
Yeah,
Bob
I
make the
think-
motion. He's better at
The
giving
motion
wording than I am.
is to override any previous vote on the subject of a build-out study, part one. Part two,
Stop there.
stop there.
That's what I would do if I was you.
Okay.
You're making a motion, do whatever you
And then we'll
want.
have a further motion on other subjects, all right?
Right, do a second motion
Okay.
later. Connie doesn't like you. just
Anybody
one
want to
motion
second
there.
that motion to override a previous
I'll
vote?
second it.
Thank you.
Want to read the motion again, please?
I don't know, you all got confused here.
Okay, the motion, the very simple motion is to override any previous vote we may have taken on the subject of a build-out study. Period.
The motion's been made and seconded. We've had discussion on it. All those in favor of Bob's motion? Any opposed? Okay. Motion
Second.
passes.
A second motion I wish to make is to accept the offer put forward by Dan Hope Pond Trust in a letter that makes the following 4 points. One, thank you very much. We will expect to find this study potentially useful. Two, we will carefully consider whatever information it produces. And three, only 3 points, not 4. Three, that we will take advantage of your offer to participate in an oversight group or to participate in working with the contractor to ensure this is of maximum utility to the town of Ossipee and any other boards which wish to join us. We would welcome their participation as well.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Call for question.
Any further discussion on the second motion? All those in favor of the motion? All those opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you. Alpha is run by a bunch of flatlanders.
Hey, it's better than a bunch of hillbillies.
No, but your damn whole trust is.
All right, gentlemen,
Those damn hillbillies that cause all the
we
problems.
don't,
Goddamn right.
we don't need this. The next subject is the Jones and Beach letter. You all got a copy of it? What they're trying to do is justify their additional costs. But my feeling is they have not come back to us prior to this to justify or to let us know about the cost. We approved a fixed amount, and unless there's some other extenuating circumstances which that there are, if there are, they should come and discuss it with the board. Other than that, I think we just,
Ski has
You
been.
made two motions to that effect, and they both passed. And they're still not here.
Have they been notified that we felt that they did not come back to us in a timely way and justify increased costs when the project was underway?
No, I haven't got that letter to them yet.
Okay, so they have not heard from us on this subject. It's time that we get a letter out to them, I think.
I'm just,
That's our position.
I don't believe this.
Yeah, no.
I find that.
And our
I don't-
position before was that they never came to us in a timely way while the project was underway and said, we're gonna need more money and more time to do this. They just popped the bill on us when it was all done.
Right. And I don't see where in their first number one item here, their last sentence is plus our initial site walk of the property with Ski and Rick. What's that got to do with the bill? Nothing.
No.
What I find is that we had, I believe there were 3 bids? We had
Two.
2.
There was
We
two.
had 3. And 2 of them were in one was $6,000 or $7,000, and they came to $3,500.
4,500.
Yeah, and Steve, not Steve, Rick, most of them, you know, we take them because they were a lot less, and they were gonna do the same thing. Well, it looks like they did the same thing, and they charged us what the bid was on one of the other bids, so. I've seen this done before, I'm sure you have.
Yep. You know, I eat my
You
loss.
go low and then come back with a higher price, so I think they gotta eat it.
Yep.
Well, that was their previous
Wow.
decision. but
They did it under
didn't
contract.
so.
We have a contract with them for $4,500. Northgate has a contract with us for $4,500 to reimburse us.
Right.
We have no control over that.
That's the end of it.
That's the end of it, period.
Northgate has to send us a check because we're the ones, the contractor.
Probably we have to affirmatively or show that we have paid this $4,500.
Yeah,
They
well, yeah, that's
reimburse
what I
us.
mean, Jim.
Yeah, right.
And then the town will reimburse Northgate.
No.
Can,
Or,
No. Northgate will reimburse the town.
yeah,
Right.
reimburse the town. Can I be helpful in drafting a letter for you, Skeeter or Laura?
well, you can work with Laura if Laura wishes.
That's fine.
Yeah, I mean,
All right.
one less thing you have to do. You
Okay.
approve it.
The next item is a notice of hearing, site plan review. Okay. We did do the review, we have the guidelines that's submitted by bottom.
No, that's referring to the actual site plan where we have 3 versions of it that I'm working on to consolidate.
Yeah, that's different.
Oh, okay. You're working on it.
I'm working on
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
Okay. All right.
That's what that says, I'm still
It's a
working on it.
complex work in
Okay.
progress, I think. Yeah.
Okay. Under letters, we have the letter for the watershed, which we discussed already. Under any other business, New Hampshire Department of Transportation, there's a public hearing. You got a notice of the date and everything. And you can just look it over, see what you think. These are these 3 steel bridges, correct?
River and
Right.
Beach Road.
Okay. As far as the budget's concerned,
We get it.
not much to do there. And everyone has an invitation to the Christmas luncheon. I believe you have to RSVP, Laura.
Yeah.
Thing,
Okay. Our next meeting is going to be December 20th at 7 o'clock. Yes, Steve.
I do have a couple of questions on Irving Oil,
Irving, yeah.
site plan, review, the deeded, I believe.
They haven't filed one. They have not filed one.
That's right, it's needed.
Yes, it is
That's
needed.
the question, okay. Woods Boat Shop. They want to intent to cut, and they want to fill in a parcel of land roughly an acre. They got 26 acres there. They want parking. This is right before the overpass. I don't see a problem with it, it drops off, I don't think it's wet. I told them I'd run it by the 4th time, I was here.
We have no control over it.
No.
I don't see a problem with it.
It's not a change of use, it's nothing that brings us into the picture, I think.
Nothing.
They're not gonna build anything there?
No, it's parking, it's gonna be dirt, but they're getting the fill from nothing, it's from the bluff, they're bringing in the bluff. But I understand, that's where the fill's coming from. The only other question I had is I got a call from,
Well, if that's coming out of the bluffs, 1,000 yards, they have to come in front of us. The
Over
people
1,000.
that are removing it.
There it is. Stuck to it.
what I understand, they have permits, or whatever they're doing on the bluffs, they're getting rid of the dirt. He'd like to take it, Barry from Westwood Shores.
Well, according to our earth removal, anything over 1,000 acres, 1,000 yards,
1,000 cubic yards.
Okay.
they have to come to us.
And that would be the Bluff Association?
Whoever's doing it, whoever's got the
Where the fill is
permit,
coming from?
whoever's got the permit.
Who's gonna pull up?
Whoever holds the permit.
Where the fill is coming from?
Yeah,
Well, whoever holds the permit, there's a bluff association, or there's a landowner who, you ought to know, Bruce, who's in the conservation,
What?
that would be in the wetlands or shoreline protection.
That's a good question. I don't know if it is or not. Have to check
Well,
them out.
where in-
It's supposed to be
I don't know.
impact.
Yeah, check
I
them
was
out.
gonna
see
say,
where
if
it
it's
is.
not anywhere near the water, I mean, it goes straight back in.
I don't know.
Gulf Street.
But they do need a gravel permit if they're gonna pull out more than
Seems to
1,000.
me, I remember something from the shoreline protection, that they were granted.
Then the conservation committee is supposed to be notified.
But what Connie's talking about is our gravel extraction, or extraction regulations require that anything over 1,000 cubic yards requires a,
I'll find out that information, but as far as Barry, Westwood Shores.
if it's 985, well, no.
They can take it anywhere they want, they're just gonna have to find out how much they're taking out. Of course, if they dump it in the lake, then it's your problem.
Barry, Westwood Shores is fine. Am I correct?
Does our,
Barry is fine.
That's all.
any
That's all.
questions or?
He's the receiver.
Right.
The giver is 1,000 yards.
Well, I got that. I got the point. I'll look into that. And my last question was conditional approvals on these, on the permits that we're handing out. They come back to the board, you get your conditional approval.
No, once they file the necessary papers,
We sign the approval.
Come back to the board,
Yes.
so you can
they
sign
have
the.
to, all they have to do is give it to Laura.
Right, give it to
And
Laura.
it's brought up,
Let 'em-
it's brought up to the next meeting after the paperwork has been submitted. Then we take a vote on it, say that the application is complete, that he's met all the requirements, take a vote. Boom, it's done.
We're running into this with the ZBA too, again, which is Irving Oil, that's one of them. Conditional,
Mhm.
do they bring the paperwork to me?
No,
No.
It's gotta
To
go
us.
back to.
To the planning board.
Exactly,
To Laura.
and that's why I explained to Jim. All right.
yeah.
Get back to us and you'll know that night anyway when you hear it.
No.
Well, you gotta wait for
No.
a meeting to come up. Are we
Yep.
having a ZBA meeting this month?
Oh, ZBA will be that night, yeah.
ZBA, it has to go to ZBA because they gave the condition. We gave a lot merger. We have not given a site plan.
That's right,
They were waiting for the
the fire chief.
ZBA to give them the variance. Then they can come to us. They haven't got the variance yet, if it's conditional.
Conditions have been met.
So they have
ZBA
to
is not gonna meet this month. It doesn't
Yeah,
look that way.
they're gonna meet. They have to meet,
Are they gonna meet this month?
Oh, yeah, we're gonna.
but they're not gonna.
As
they're
far
not
as I
gonna-
know, we are still meeting.
Okay.
They still need to submit whatever they have as far as approvals to me.
To you.
I did receive a letter from Jody Ahmedin, but I can't take it at face value. She's gotta supply me with these documents that she says she has.
And it comes up in front of the board.
Yeah,
Mhm.
it's gonna
Exactly.
come be,
And I agree.
it's gonna come back before the board so that they can final things out and do the approvals.
I'll call Irving in the morning.
You can help us as an intermediary to get this stuff out of them, but the stuff needs to come here to Laura to verify and put
It's
it in
gonna come back to me
files.
so I can check it off and put it back before the boards.
That's right,
We have nothing to do with it.
that's right. I'll talk to Irving Oil in the morning.
CBA has to be, because that is a regularly scheduled meeting. Whether they conduct business, because Stanley's not gonna be there, Jim's got a conflict, et cetera, they just continue the meeting until January.
Stanley is now gonna be here.
Oh, he is.
Is Stanley gonna be in? Okay, well, okay, we're having a meeting.
You still have to have, even without a quorum. you have to
As
have
of a
meeting.
couple of hours
Then you
ago,
don't
as
have a
far as I
quorum.
know, I'm going with the pretense we are having a meeting unless I
Okay.
am told otherwise.
All right.
Well, Stanley told me the other day that he wasn't gonna be there. Jim had a conflict, so Jim moved all this stuff from December to January. And,
That's what I got.
yeah, now Stanley's gonna be here.
Okay.
Welcome to my world.
All right, if there's no
They
other.
still, Laura, they still have to have a meeting,
Yeah,
even if there's not a
Any
quorum.
further input from the public?
Yeah, is there anyone in the public has any comments
So to
before we
speak.
close? Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In regards to the build-out study,
Yes?
what was the amount of this study they were gonna pay for? Is it $6,000?
It's $6,000, right.
Now, if you're gonna receive that gift.
No, oh,
If you're gonna receive that gift, there still has to be a public hearing on accepting that money.
so town is not accepting the money. It's accepting the report that results from their donations and contracting with the contractor.
But any amount of money gotten from a grant or anything else, the public should understand why the build-out study is being done.
Mhm.
I'm saying this is in a positive way. This
Yes.
is a good opportunity
Oh, I think so, yes.
to have a quick public hearing and make sure the public understands all the details behind the concerns of the build-out study. That way it's vetted and you don't have a problem in the future. Because if the town, at that point, wants to put another warrant article in and say they don't want a build-out study at all, then at least you'll know. But if you go forward and do this, it may not look as transparent as you might think.
And the problem is, what you're suggesting is the planning board can't do it. The selectmen have to do it,
Well, who accepts your budget?
the selectmen.
The selectmen, if, like in Brookfield, if we receive any gift or anything of
The
any
selectmen have to have a
Exactly.
Well,
public hearing.
that's true. If
Yes.
you receive
You're
something
receiving
of monetary
This
value.
is a gift.
This
It
is
has
not-
value to it.
This is
so-
simply a report that we're talking about.
But the report, or the contract, has a value. You have to check the RSAs, follow the rules, that's why we have law, and make sure that you're following it, because if you go forward with this, then you may have problems later on. It just might be easier and more transparent to make sure the public is involved. And because it's the master plan, part of the master plan is to have the town involved in its construction.
Well, Ed, we know that. That's what we're trying to do here, and we're certainly going to involve not just the general public, but we're trying to involve all the town bodies first to contribute to this master plan. So that's certainly our intention, to be completely transparent here, absolutely.
I fully agree with what he's saying. I think it's a very good idea.
Mhm.
I think we need,
Well, we need a
I feel
letter,
better with more input. And
Mhm.
we need a letter to go to the selectmen then.
Well, we'll copy
Is that the procedure?
We will copy the selectmen on the letter.
That's
yes.
a good idea there.
Curiosity, do we need a public hearing, like a town public hearing, or do we need a public hearing in the planning board sense?
We can't accept it, Bruce. We cannot accept it. The selectmen have to accept it.
It's part of the town financial situation. Even though the actual funds don't hit you, it still has value to it.
That's like when someone donates a piece of property to the town.
The town still has to vote on accepting it, yeah.
The selectmen have to have a public hearing and vote to accept it, because we gave them permission to do that.
That's correct. A
So-
piece of land has fiscal fungible value, subject to resale, et cetera. It's an actual item of appraisable value. That's not something that we're doing in this case, but nevertheless.
Yeah, we are, yeah, because
I
it's
fully
a back
agree
door
that
value.
the transport,
My public comment, can I follow up?
Yeah, sure.
And the reason why we have this in law is because let's just say there was someone in town that had a lot of money, and they wanted to change the town into whatever they felt like. And they just dumped money into the government to do stuff. What are the people supposed to do with that? There has to be some method or mechanism to protect you from that.
That's right.
And that's what it's for.
Mhm.
And it does have value. It's a contracted item. Money's attached to it because obviously they got money from somewhere, so it has value. I'm just saying, watch what you're doing there because that.
We shall.
And this is my point exactly, the
Would it
Dan
be-
Hall Association is not, the conservation is preservation, not conservation. They do nothing with their land, and they don't want development.
Well,
And it's they're giving the gift to the back door, and they voted for a gift, is what they've done.
But that's the reason why a public hearing, that can be brought up, dispelled, or upheld.
Well, we can CC the selectmen
we will.
and have Laura let Ellen know that they need the selectmen's.
They can figure this out for themselves. We will simply CC them on the letter.
Gifts are gifts, no matter where you get it from.
All right,
All right?
okay.
So the
Yes,
vote
sir.
that,
Oh,
the vote
Yeah,
that we,
more.
So this was one part of the master plan, was this build-out study. The other part you mentioned was the town survey. and I
Well,
was just
it's
curious-
a complicated
Well, I know
thing. If
there's
you
a
look at
lot.
the current master plan, it's got about 8 or 10 chapters.
So my question is, does all of that happen here at the planning board meetings, or is there like a subcommittee that is working on the master plan?
There is a subcommittee of myself, Dennis, and Rick St. Jean,
Okay.
and we're trying to organize this effort. What we'll want to do, and we've stated this before in earlier meetings, is to have appropriate town bodies submit pieces of the master plan. For example, the Ossipee Economic Development Committee, would produce a almost a kind of business plan for Ossipee, or a guideline to a business plan. That would be very useful. Conservation Commission can then make its submission on the Natural Resources section. Ossipee Historical Society on priorities for historic preservation in Ossipee, and so on. So we want participation of other boards, first of all, but as the chapters come in draft form, we will make them available, I expect probably online. We haven't really talked about this, but to make them online as drafts, available online as drafts. And then ultimately there is at least one public hearing on what we hope will be the final draft. We want as much public participation and input as possible. And it'll take some months. This is not a simple
Yeah.
task. That's why I only do it once every 5 or 10 years.
And so would the appropriate avenue to be involved to participate in the respective boards that are contributing chapters, or this other
I think once we
subcommittee,
get
or-
ourselves actually organized here, we need to put a notice on the town website. There's already, the existing master plan is on the town website.
Right.
A notice that's a little easier to find that says, here is what we're doing, and we invite public input on the following subjects.
Right.
So that you have, for example, ample opportunity to have input in it. Yeah, this is not something we want to do behind closed doors at all.
Right.
Transparency is absolutely required here, because we want people to take it seriously. We want it to be useful and readable and meaningful.
Right.
Thanks.
I have a question. That the motion that Bob made about Dan Hope Pond, where we cannot accept that gift, it must be an illegal motion, then it's gotta be rescinded.
I think we should proceed with it, with the letter and the CC to the.
If town council has a problem or an issue, he can let us know. I'll
Yes.
certainly let him know too.
Your motion was to accept them helping us. We cannot do that.
Our motion is.
Correct, Ed?
As far as I know.
Yes.
Well,
I guess
So,
I'd have to agree with that.
I'll look at it, yeah.
So, you passed an illegal motion.
We'll find out.
No, I think it should be settled right now.
Can I move to adjourn the meeting, 'cause I gotta get home pretty soon?
I'll second it.
This is discussion on the ground floor.
I agree with Connie. I think we got illegal, I think we passed something, I think you guys passed something illegal. You overrode a previous vote anyways, and you passed, shoved it down our throats.
Well, I think, after hearing what you had to say, you touched on something that hit home. I've been wrestling with this for over a week now,
Mhm.
and I discussed this with you earlier. I see the need for a build-out study.
Mhm.
I think it will help town down the road. I don't want any strings attached to it, and I didn't feel like there was here. So I honestly, hearing what's just been said and what you said, and I know I'm new at this, I'm very uncomfortable because I'd much rather go with what people have to say. And if we can't do that, then we're not being transparent. So,
Well, before,
taking all this in here, I think we need to have a meeting, send a letter to the selectmen. We should have an open forum on it. Discuss it, and from that discussion, get a better idea of how the people in town feel about it. And then vote.
I think we need to
what
overturn
I
the
would,
vote now, though.
what I would
If
suggest,
that's what it takes,
Dennis,
I'd much rather go that way.
is a simple, quick question which I can put to Rick Sager this week, to see if he indeed feels there is an issue here, and if he does, fine. We'll not send the letter, we'll advise the selectmen.
I think we need to recant the vote,
If he doesn't
check
see-
out the legality of
If
it,
he
and then
doesn't see
vote
an
on it
issue, then I
later.
think we should proceed.
I don't.
Bob,
I make a motion, we
may
recant the
may
floor
I-
vote.
May I suggest that you call the municipal authority?
Let's do that, sure.
That
that was
doesn't
simple.
cost us anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
I just made a motion.
Well, you're right, that's cheap, that's free.
There's another motion on the floor already, Rob.
I didn't hear you.
There was a motion to adjourn, and I second.
No, I was talking when he said that.
It could be.
And I said
No,
to it-
I don't want to cut off discussion here, that's fine.
There was a discussion going on.
But I think you're right, the quick call to the municipal association will give us some guidance
The
here before we
municipal
take any action.
association will not give you a written answer.
They will not.
But
They
they'll
will
give us
not.
a useful.
I've seen
legal
written answers from them, Con.
Well,
I never
they
have.
told
I've
me,
seen-
no, I won't give you a written
I've
answer.
seen emails.
And they won't go to court.
They're not legally binding either. I think we need to reverse the motion and check out the legality of
I
it.
will check with the municipal association and let you all know what they
We
say.
just, we started this off earlier. We made a motion that we send the first one, and there was not much said about it. And we went ahead and had a discussion and voted again. Then a very good point was brought up. There seems to be, it seems to be we're not being transparent.
I think we
That we're
are.
trying to do something, now I'm beginning to feel it,
Mhm.
that if there's no problem here, if there's not an issue here,
Mhm.
then I think we should just do it right.
Mhm.
And I think the only way to do that is to rescind it, as he's asking, have the meeting, listen to
Turn
the
it
people
over
in
to the
town,
selectmen.
and then have a discussion and vote on it.
I think we should turn it over to the selectmen because it's a gift, period.
If we must, we would, but let's
I think
consider
we should. I
this.
think when you rescind the motion, check it out.
We don't have to ask the selectmen's permission to gather information or accept.
We have to first we take a gift, it's a $6,000 gift.
If that's an issue according to the municipal association, then I would fully agree with you, absolutely. But we are an independent elected body, and in general, we do not have to ask the selectmen for approval to gather information on any subject.
I want to go on record, we're breaking the law.
Ed, what do you think of that last statement?
That's my opinion.
Well, I think you have to look into it. You have
We
to go
will,
by the
yeah, absolutely,
RSA's.
yeah.
Well, one last comment about it. Do you actually have to sign something for this work?
No,
No.
we
So
don't.
there's no contract.
All
You
they're
said there's
asking
contract.
is a letter
Contract.
that expresses interest. It doesn't say we're going to use it, it says that we will give it consideration. That's all. And
Which
so they
means
can
we're gonna
show,
use
so
it.
they can show donors that, hey, the town is indeed interested, or some of the elements of the town are interested, the planning board, for
You
example.
just contradicted yourself. You said earlier, we need a master plan, we need to have this a study for master plan.
Well,
And then you said we're not gonna use it.
No. I told you that this is a standard best practice by towns in doing their master plans, period. That's a fact. What we're proposing to do, and what we agreed to do in the motion, was to simply tell Dan Hole Pond that we appreciate their offer. We find this potentially interesting, useful, I should say, and we would give careful consideration to any information that it produces. We're only interested in the information that it produces, because that's what we're here for, to gather information for the purposes of a master plan.
That is still a gift.
Well, if the municipal association legal advice is that this is a gift, as you say, Ed, that requires approval of the selectmen, then we will ask the selectmen for their approval. But if it's not considered a kind of gift.
And then kind of close the barn door out, the horse get out.
No, not at all. We're asking for a considered legal opinion from the municipal association.
Ed,
So,
So-
I don't see a problem here at the moment. We'll find out.
I've made a motion,
There's
we want to second
money
it?
exchange somewhere, so I'm assuming someone signed something. All I'm saying is the public, if this is seen as, it'll be seen as not transparent, because if somebody had signed a contract, or there's something they're going to give you, so there has to be disclosure. And I think the public has always had problems with these type of items, is
What
because.
we've seen right here
Can I
tonight
finish?
is complete
Bob,
transparency.
Bob, let him finish.
I'm just saying that apparently there's always a concern in every town that I visit, that there is not complete disclosure about the details of this. If there's no problem with it, and Dan Old Pond comes in, and they explain at a hearing
Mhm.
what this is all about, what it means, why it's free, who's paying for it, what it's for, what its long-term effects will be, etc., then I think the public will say, oh, that sounds like a great idea, or it doesn't sound like a great idea. At least they're seeing it. But if you don't do that, there's always going to be a question. What is this going to be used for?
And
Well,
what if Dan
certainly,
Old Pond comes in later
I don't
before
know
the
how
board
long-
for something?
I don't know how long it takes to actually produce a build-out study, but some weeks, I would imagine. And then it would certainly be appropriate, providing there was no legal issue in the first place, to hold a public hearing to present this study, so people can see what's in it or not in it, and draw their own conclusions. And then we at the time can determine also if it's really going to be useful for us or not. We don't know at this point. That's why we're proposing, or our motion was to say, we find this potentially useful.
And what happens if Dan Old Pond comes in here later on and they want to do something for the planning board, and they just give them a $6,000 gift, we approve it? What's that look like?
All right. Ed, Bob read out the letter from Dan Hole Pond into the video and for the board.
That's pretty transparent.
And why isn't Dan Hope Pond here instead of a letter?
Well,
They're talking to a board member instead of coming before the board.
well, because the suggestion was, again from Frank, that they simply write us a letter outlining their proposal, which they have done. So that's what we've done.
Yeah, Tony.
Bob's proposal, motion, was that we accept their help. That has value. That report has value. Period. Now, under the RSAs, anything of value that the town accepts must be accepted by the selectmen after a public hearing. So, you do a study, it has value. We're not going to be the only ones that use that. Any businessman can use it.
That's right.
Once it comes into our possession, it can be used for profit.
I don't know.
It can be used for, it's a build out.
If-
Well, let's say, oh geez, they think that Joe Smoke's lot over on East Oshkosh Street will become valuable, I'll go buy it. That is a possibility.
I think you're imagining things
I am not a
that this study would not
Excuse
do.
me.
Why don't you just second my motion, so you make a motion to send it?
I motion, I make the second. That we rescind it.
No motion.
I made a motion with withdraw the previous vote, rescind it.
I'll second.
Well,
Well,
let
why
me-
don't,
I think this
why
is
don't we,
transparency.
Motion's on the floor.
Motion's on the floor,
therefore
call for
there's a
vote.
discussion.
It's been discussed, I made the motion 20 minutes ago.
If
We've
I-
been discussing right over it, you wouldn't even
If
wouldn't
I
even
found
recognize it.
something useful on the internet and downloaded it, that might have value in some sense. The question is whether it has the kind of value that the RSAs that you're talking about and Ed is talking about actually pertain to. I don't know. None of us here is a lawyer. So I would prefer that we stick with our current vote.
You got a
I
motion
will
and a second.
inquire with the municipal authority.
We got a motion in a
Municipal
second.
Association, that's right, Municipal Association, and find out if indeed there is an issue. If they say no, then I will let you all know. If there
Then you
is
can
an issue,
resubmit your
I will let you all know.
But I am not going to.
all right, there is a legal motion on the floor. It's been seconded. Would you repeat the motion again, so?
To recant the motion and check the legality of accepting the Dan Hope Pond
Okay. There were two motions, as I recall.
One.
There-
One.
One.
okay. All right. All those in favor of Roy's motion? All those opposed?
Motion carries.
Bruce?
I'm abstaining, I don't give a damn one way or the
I
other.
really wish you'd vote one way or the other, Bruce.
Motion is approved.
It passed.
Bruce?
All right.
I
Make a
abstain.
motion, we adjourn.
I'll second that.
Any discussion? All those in favor? All those opposed?